All right, welcome to class. All right. Come on in, everyone. Let me put my headphones back in here. Cool. How's everyone doing tonight, today, this morning, wherever you are? Welcome back to Meditation School. Good to be here with you. You could write in the box if you're here live how you're doing, if you feel grounded, if you feel ungrounded, if you feel creative, if you feel blocked. If you're hiding under the blanket going, no, I don't want to meditate, David. I'm just here for the entertainment. You could just write under blanket. Yeah. So in tonight's class, we are going to work on grounding ourselves and letting some of that creative energy come out of meditation. Maybe we'll work on what's keeping us from opening that space up inside of ourselves. Yeah, feeling blocked in bed, scattered, sick. Oh, I hope you feel better. Okay. So, well, I was creative today because I cut my own hair. I just took a buzzer. You don't want to see the back of my head. As we jump in tonight, if you saw an email I sent out just a little while ago, I was celebrating a friend of mine, Darren's creativity today, because a show that he's in was #1 on Netflix today. So I'm so happy for him, and just remember for the last few years of him really working on his acting career and trying to break through and really being diligent, and then it happening. So pretty cool. Now his next challenge may be to stay grounded in that creativity, especially with all the attention and the energy. Yeah. Um, so as we get rolling, I want you to be in a quiet place if you can be. Hopefully you're not driving or doing anything crazy at the moment. And tonight when we meditate, I really invite you to just let whatever's going to unfold in you, unfold in you. Some of you have emailed me in the last few days. Everything is collapsing. The world, my life. Ah! Others of you don't email me. I just telepathically hear it. Some of you are in flow. You're creative. You're getting work done. You're being productive. Some of you are maybe really making some great inner progress, working through layers of energy. Maybe some of you are sitting in apathy, and others of you are unsure what's going on. The days are blending together. You haven't worn outside clothes in many weeks. You're not sure what to do with yourself. But it reminds me of, I mentioned my grandfather a few times, but, he lived through World War II. He lived through the Korean War and the Vietnam War and Iraq wars and all these crazy things and financial collapses. And something he reminded me of was that, these intense world events happen and then they eventually end. And none of them are the quote unquote end of the world. And if we match that energy of fear and anxiety, then it's like we don't get anything done maybe in a moment of opportunity for us. It's maybe the only time in your life that you end up being quarantined. Who knows? So there could be, as long as you feel healthy and good, great opportunity in this. And if you don't feel well, there's opportunity in other ways in terms of healing and learning about yourself. So use it wisely, and that's why we're here. Every day is Monday. Do I want us to email you? No. I don't, and I've mentioned that before. I mean, yes, you can email me. Actually, I don't mind the emails. I just can't really respond because it just takes too long and it would be unfair. So I like to, I stay as long as you guys want me to stay at the end of these meditations and answer questions. I do separate question Q&As in meditation school. We did one last week. Uh, and and then you can also comment in meditation school, and I try to go through the comments and respond. But email to respond for me just takes a lot of time and energy, and I don't think it's the best way. I don't even feel like I can respond well in an email in written word. I do better in class when you ask. So yeah, great. Okay, so we're rolling. I was in India once with some friends, and I had a buddy who was, really militant about meditation, about the way you were supposed to meditate and how long you're supposed to meditate for and the style you were supposed to meditate in. And we were sitting around with some older Indian gentleman, and my buddy was like, meditation is all about being present, but like in a really intense way. And the Indian fellow was like, okay, I could be present with you. And he's like, be present with me. And he like had a like almost like a violent staring contest with the guy. Just like it was really awkward and intense. And I remember thinking, is that what being present is? Is just staring intensely at somebody? I don't know if that's the only way to be present, or if that's what enlightenment is, when you awkwardly stare at somebody. And at the time, that was it. It passed by, that moment. That's all I thought of it. But then afterwards, I reflected on it, and even today I was reflecting on it. And for me, being it's not just about being present, but what are you being present with, and what is your energy like while you're being present, right? So there are so many parts of you that are unconscious, that are automated, right? The cells in your body are moving around, and signals are going from your brain down through your nervous system. You're not conscious of any of that. You could be maybe more conscious of your body and certain mechanisms, but I don't know if that's what makes you enlightened. But what if you were more conscious of how you felt? What if you were more conscious and present with your life's purpose? What if you were conscious with kindness? What if you were conscious with communication? What if you were conscious with creativity? What if you were conscious with being grounded? So now our presence has context, right? And it also begins to have meaning in our relationships. So I don't think enlightenment is just a present staring contest. Although there is a guy who his whole career is he just stares. He never speaks. And like thousands of people will gather and he'll just gaze at them and like they'll get a healing. I haven't been, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. But wow, what a career. You just stare. That would be, would you guys come if we just came into meditation school and I just stared at you? uh, so that would be interesting. So in today's class in meditation, the concept I want to present to you in the meditation we're going to do is it's going to have to do with chaos and structure and being grounded and having creativity between the polarity of chaos and structure. So a lot of people, they look at the world and they go, the world is falling apart. Governments are falling apart. The old structures are falling apart. I remember in 2012 when I was living in Hawaii, everybody was teaching classes. 2012 is, as it happens, the world's going to shift. Everything is going to change. Sell all your stuff or whatever. Move to Hawaii. I was already there. And I looked at that I wasn't sure. I was like, all right, let's see. I'm not sure about that. And obviously, a lot of the bigger structures in the world didn't change that much, did they? Yes, things fell apart, like there's a financial crisis a few years before, but there's still structure. And I'm glad there's structure, right? We're able to get on Zoom. Zoom is a company. It creates structure so we can be here with this technology. We can exchange money. There are airplanes so we can travel. There's an industrial system of goods, right? Farmers can grow crops and then put them in boxes and put them on trucks. And then there's food at the restaurant or in the supermarket. And so we all rely on these structures, and so there's these physical structures, and there are social structures, and there's always this tension between these different kinds of structures, right? And chaos. There's tension inside of each of us, and then in society between the people who want to take down the structures and change them, and then the people who really believe in the structures, right? So, and I'm sure you've had political arguments and worldview discussions with your friends about all the structures and which ones need to be torn down and rebuilt, which ones are good. But I see it in a little bit more nuanced way. I don't want us to burn everything down, right? There's been a lot of progress in the last few thousand years. And then there's also been a lot of mistakes, obviously. Now, there's something about chaos that creativity can thrive in, right? It's like when there's this flow, when there's this movement, when there's no boundaries, like creativity almost like starts to move. But it also, creativity needs structure, right? It needs a form. Maybe creativity comes out in language, or it comes out in dance, or it comes out in art, right? But it needs some kind of structure so that the energy can take form. So when I see people arguing like burn down all the structure, I always am a little concerned about that. I never think I don't think it's that simple, right? It's a little bit more nuanced. And in your personal life, you might also find where there's some structure and then where there's some chaos. And in today's meditation, we can experience if there's a balance or if that's imbalanced and it needs to be shifted. Sometimes we need to spend some time in chaos. What's that ecstatic dance? You know, when people go to, have you ever been to ecstatic dance where people just go and for an hour they just move in whatever way they want, right? And there's just no talking. It's a way to like let some of that chaos move around and play. And other times we're like, okay, I need a morning routine. I need to have a meditation routine, a good eating regimen, so I could feel that structure, like I'm getting somewhere, right? Children tend to need structure in their lives. Animals like when there's structure. So we're moving between this chaos and this structure. So how can we be creative and balanced between the chaos and the structure? And sometimes the chaos makes us afraid, right? So we look at the world and there's some systems that are failing at the moment, maybe financial systems, food systems, and it could create fear, right? Well, whoa, I need those structures to survive. And other structures, we look at them like, let's tear those down and let's rebuild them in a better way. Oh, I got some good comments coming in. Yeah. You might find yourself in resistance to people who vibrate more in the chaos energy, or you might find yourself in resistance to people who vibrate in too much structure. Like, oh, that's just too much. So we all have a different like focal point or a different balance spot. And that also moves. Maybe one day you just need more chaos in your life, more spontaneity, more movement, and another day you just need a really good regimented structure. And so people will come to me and they say, David, help me structure my meditation. How should I structure it? Should I meditate for 7.5 minutes every day at 8 a.m. for 6 years, or is that going to get me where I want to go? And it's a tricky question to answer because I do want to give you structure, but at the same time, you need a certain amount of spontaneity, a certain amount of maybe we can call chaos, to just let things unfold the way they want to unfold. Maybe you need to sit for an hour or two one day and 10 minutes another day. What I have found is in the beginning, when we start something, whether it's learning the piano or an art form or meditation, that's when we tend to need more structure at the beginning. It's like going bowling and they put up the, I forgot what they're called right now, uh, the bumpers, right? So you can't like miss the pins. And then after a while, you take those down. But at first, you need more boundaries. Or when you grow a tomato plant, and again, I don't remember the word, but there's these like things that go around the tomato plants to make sure it grows up straight and doesn't fall over when it gets too tall. So in the beginning of learning something, we need more structure. And as we go along, maybe the practice becomes more intuitive. You wake up and you just kind of know what you need to look at, work on, or sit with any given day. That's an intuition that we develop through experience. Tomato cages, thank you. So, just like playing the piano, you take like, because that's what I'm doing, I've been learning for a while. You first are learning all the different notes and keys and octaves and all of these different structures to the piano. And then once you have those, now you can move up and down the piano and let it flow and be creative. So we need a certain amount of structure for creativity to come out. And so these two, on a low level of consciousness, chaos and structure seem like they're at war. Like if you turn on the news, it always seems like those two things are at war with each other. But the closer you get to the truth inside yourself, the more you notice that they are interdependent and need each other. And it's almost a paradox. They live inside of each other. They live inside of you. You are made of both chaos, spontaneity, and structure, right? And maybe there's some regret or resentment or pain around having too much structure in your life and not enough freedom. Or maybe you grew up and you didn't feel safe at home and there wasn't enough and things were chaotic and you didn't like it, right? So there could be some healing that needs to be done on one end of the spectrum or the other. On occasion, I teach entrepreneurship for meditation teachers and people who work in wellness. And what I find is many of them, not all, but many, have a lot of spontaneity, a lot of creativity, a lot of spiritual energy, a lot of that chaos side, and they don't have enough structure. It's like, how do I build a website? How do I hire someone to help me? How do I take payment? Where do I go teach? It's like all the structure stuff is what they have trouble with. And then in other vocations, like if I took a group of engineers, like my dad, my dad's title is literally a structural engineer, and he loves structure. Everything needs to be planned. If he's going on vacation on a trip, every moment is planned. We know everything that's going to happen, the way it's going to happen. He loves structure. Me, I came out the other end of the spectrum a little bit. Yeah. I would buy one-way tickets to different countries for years and show up in a backpack with no money or idea where I was going to sleep, and I would just let life unfold. And I really enjoyed that. And then as I got a bit older, there were parts of me that just needed a bit more structure. So, can any of you kind of experience what I'm saying? Do you get that in yourself? Do you start to see that in yourself? Maybe you've been in a little bit of resistance to one side or the other here. Yeah, cool. All right. So I want to show you the image we're going to use before we go into meditation, just so you have it. And then I want to be clear that this image is going to change twice. when we go into meditation, it's going to almost expand, okay? So the image we're going to start with, on the left side, on your left side, it's just going to be a horizontal line. It's going to be chaos. And on the right side is going to be structure. And there's almost like a fulcrum in the middle. And we're going to work on this, this relationship between the two, okay? Um, great. Oh, last thing. Yeah, I mentioned this in another class I taught recently, uh, but it was Eckhart Tolle speaking about solitude and loneliness. And a young man said, "Hey, I've been following you around for the last couple of years. I don't have a job. I don't do much. I don't know. I just follow you around and I'm practicing nothing, doing nothing." And I was really surprised by the question Eckhart asked him. Eckhart said, "Do you have enough money to do that?" And the guy was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay." And the advice he gave him was go back into the world, maybe get a girlfriend, get a job. He was like, go back into structure because it's easy for you to be in chaos, but your spiritual work is in structure. And I was surprised that he said that to him, but I thought it was a beautiful teaching. Yeah. So we'll see what it is for you. Okay.